Okay, this is weird. Hey, it's Acoustic Stevo, the Crypto Bard, making his way into the cryptoverse. Join me on my journey. Let's have some fun. This is my second attempt. I just want to give a shout out, thank you to Gemma and Studio Geek. They were helping me troubleshoot this. It looks like I'm live again. I'm gonna refresh this to make sure here. Oh, that's great. And I think I have like some kind of a chat queued here as well. So I think that's working too, which is good. But if you guys are still there, I know you probably ducked out. I wouldn't blame you. Could you put something through the chat, and I will see if it comes through on this screen before I start driving, because after that I probably won't be able to communicate much to you guys, if at all, because I'm not supposed to be looking at my device when I'm driving, and I'm going to kind of cover up everything but the camera because I'm supposed to keep it out of my reach as well. But I see it is going, so regardless of if I see you do that or not, I'm just going to mount my thing here out of my reach. Actually, I got this thing to move in front of it, and it covers everything but the camera, which I don't really... I guess I could turn it on. Actually, that will probably just cause problems, turning that on. So I'm just going to leave it like this, but I am going to put a different background now that I see I'm live streaming. And then we'll get going. So, I'll put this as my background. It's a good background to drive to. It's one of my most recent poems. Alright, so I'm now moving this cover thing in front of my phone. So, I won't be able to see if anybody chats to me, but, I just want to mainly catch up, tell you
5 to 10 miles.
What's been going on with me. This is a kind of a test stream. I know it works, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll keep this stream or not, but I might if it goes well. It's kind of a catch stream. So, let's see here. I'm going to get going. So, yeah, my phone, I broke it, and I was kind of out of phone. I did get a replacement phone, but I was out of phone that was functional for doing live streams and really editing videos or anything, because I pretty much use my phone for everything I put on YouTube and pretty much interacting with the internet in general. I just have for a while now, and I prefer it over a laptop or anything. Mainly because I don't have a laptop. I don't have money to get one, so I'm kind of maybe deluding myself that I prefer it, but there are things about it that I do prefer. I do prefer that I can pop it out and do anything I want at any point in time. I like voice to text, getting fairly proficient with it to the point where, I almost prefer it over typing on a computer, but then again, I'm not sure. But I've been writing my poetry on a cell phone for a while now. I just basically go into my Google Drive, where I have not really a Word doc, but whatever that version is of Word docs on the Google Drive. I think it's just called Docs, Google Docs. And from Google Docs at any point in time, I can create a Word document. But I just have this ongoing document of my poetry. I have a couple of them, but the one that I've been writing in recently is called Poetry 365. That's what I named it on my Google Drive. And I just go in there every day, write my poetry, copy and paste it to wherever I'm putting it on the internet. And I've been putting it on 2 platforms. Steemit. I've been posting on Steemit for a while now. Not way over, but probably about a year and a half. A little more than that. No, actually, right about a year and a half. And scent, which is I've been doing for about 6 months, like consistently. So I'm just really excited more so about scent than I am steam it. I almost am doing steam it just as a just because it's there almost type of thing. Both platforms are cryptocurrency based, and which means you can actually earn cryptocurrency on them. That's the first thing that attracted me to them, but Scent offers a lot more than that. So does Steam It in a way. They're both kind of blogging platforms, especially Steam It. The actual posts themselves on Steam It, it's called your blog. It's kind of like your own little free blog on Steam It. And you have tags on both. I'm not sure if Scent has more than one tag, but that you can do at a time. I think it does, but I haven't really utilized that. I usually just tag on because I'm doing only poetry on Scent. Really, every once in a while I'll do a one-off thing, but not rare. It's very rare. I've just been posting to the poetry tag on Scent every day. And it's kind of cool, man. I'm over a third of the way done, and that's pretty cool. I'm proud of myself. I've written a poem every day this year so far. And so that's what I've kind of been doing, just every day, making sure I do that, as well as I've kind of pared back my social media interaction in general, because I just don't have time for it. I work a lot, so really I've never been one to be on Facebook a lot. That's what my wife's on. But I've actually spent a little bit more time on Facebook recently. Not posting on Facebook, but interacting with other people's stuff that they've been posting, like, I guess, stuff from your news feed. I have a neighbor, and he's a unique guy, and I like unique people, and he actually posts quite a bit of his self onto Facebook, which I think is rare. I think most people just kind of use it to push whatever it is, like, I don't know, trending stuff or things they find, which I'm not dogging that, but he's a writer like me. Like, I found that out about him, at least from what my wife told me. I haven't had a lot of conversations with him about it, but I did have one, and I asked him, I said, I heard that you were I believe he was a journalist of some sort. And he said that he was, and that he was a writer at least. And so I get to engage with my neighbor, and he's a Aquarius, and I'm way into astrology, So it's kind of, I really like interacting with Aquarius people when they're willing to put their thoughts on everything out there, because they have a unique individual perspective, and they're not afraid to shine in that way, Aquarius people. And so I've been engaging with him a little bit on Facebook. He's not at all anything like me, so it's kind of cool, because when he puts something out there, it gives me an opportunity to say what I've got to say about whatever it is he's saying, because I put a lot of thought into life in general and what it means to exist on Earth and to exist at all, and interacting with politics and social things. I put a lot of thought into those things. Like, I have a lot of time to do it because I drive a semi-truck, so my time, there's pros and cons of everything, and one of the pros of driving a semi-truck is I can listen to the radio, I can do things that kind of give me a perspective of how other people besides myself are viewing the world. And not only, I take it to the extreme. I listen to people from all kinds of walks of lives, conservatives and liberals. I listen to everyone, and I don't agree with almost anyone. There are a few people that I found that I actually think I agree with on most everything, but they're few and far between. And I don't think that's what life's about anyway, finding the people that are, so alike to you, at least in their belief systems, that you feel like, I don't know, you feel like you found somebody else, I guess. But I have, and one or two is enough for me. So everybody else that I'm listening to, it's more just to broaden my perspective, help me redefine my beliefs, get more information. Because that's really what it's about, really, for me at least, is figuring out exactly who I am and being open to redefining that at any point in time with new and better information. That's really what it comes down to as far as my social aspect of who I am. Like, I have another aspect of who I am, which is, a family man. And I never really thought that was going to be the case with myself. My young self never would have thought that was going to be the case for a lot of reasons. My perspectives on life have changed a lot over the last 10 plus years. Ever since I met my wife to be, and she had children, and I didn't. And I was approaching my 30s when I met her, and now I'm 40, and when I was approaching my 30s, I was like the last thing from a family man, or anyone that thought that's what he wanted out of life. But I have a very open mind, and I'm very open to things that come into my periphery from the universe. As a matter of fact, it's a big part of what I believe is that the universe will bring things to you if you allow it to. If you don't close the universe out, it will open and broaden your perspective, and you'll learn more things. So I think that a lot of people's problems in dealing with their own personal life is that they try to define themselves, and to narrowly define themselves and put themselves in a box, right? Whatever it is, like it could be anything. And by doing that, they actually are hurting themselves because they don't see anything outside of that box as useful. And because they don't see it as useful, they often disregard it, and quite often disregard it with derision. So therefore, I feel bad for them, really, because I've operated outside of that way of being for so long that I totally don't even understand it at this point. Like, not only do I not understand it, I can see how dogmatically they've defined themselves and their perspectives of the world, and I feel bad for them, because I know until they stop doing that, they've put themselves in a box, and it's like their own self-imposed prison. So, I mean, how can you not feel bad for that? Now, they can go on with their lives and experience a number of blessings from the universe while inside that box, but that doesn't take away the fact that they've put themselves in a box, and they've defined themselves with a role, whatever that role may be, as opposed to discovering the roles that you're in and not taking them as yourself, just knowing you're in that role. For instance, I'm a dad, right? Now, that's a loose term for me. Like, that's not what I define myself as, but it is a major part of who I am, and I had to discover that, and it's been a process, and there are a lot of reasons why that was not a natural thing for me to aspire towards, and there's a lot of reasons why, because it was not a natural thing for me to aspire towards, I'm quite good at it, because I understand what my role is, because it wasn't something that I took from society and said, hey, this is what a dad is, and made myself that. No, it was more like I was a dad. After I was a dad, I had to deal with it. I had to figure out what that meant. I had to define it for myself, and I still am. I'm very open. I'm very open to all sorts of things. And it's done nothing but, well, it hasn't been an easy process for anyone involved. My kids, my wife, myself, because I was not this guy who wanted to be a dad and wanted to do it all a certain way, prescribed by society. I was more thrust into it because I fell in love with a mom. So when you fall in love with a mom, sometimes you turn into a dad, and that's what happened to me. So I'm a dad, and I'm enjoying it. So that's kind of a big part of what I do every day, be a dad. When I get home, I wish I had more time to be a dad, but I just kind of make use of what I got. And I could talk a little bit about that because, luckily I married a woman who is a lot like me in a lot of ways. She's a lot different than me in a lot of ways too, but I really think that we're kind of each other's reflection in a lot of ways. Like, the things that bug me about her, if I'm really honest with myself, and not only bug me about her, but that I've actively criticized her for, which is not a nice thing to do to anyone, but that's a part of something I'm working on. Those things are really reflected in myself, and they're things I'm uncomfortable with in myself. So when I see it in her, my partner, I become hypersensitive to it and criticize her for these things. And that's wrong. And I know it. And I'm working on that. And I'm not, like I said, we're reflections. So that's being done to me as well. I'm not like just doing it to her. Believe me, I'm criticized as well. But, there's a lot more to it than that. Like, we love each other deeply. Like, otherwise we wouldn't still be together after everything we've been through. Believe me. After everything we've put each other through, we wouldn't still be together. And that's a lot of what I'm dealing with, just being married, being a husband, figuring that thing out, because that's another thing that I never thought I would do. When I was young, what I thought I would do was, if I were so lucky to meet a woman that didn't believe in marriage, that just wanted to meet somebody that they loved and let them be themselves and them, let you be yourself and just be with each other and be in love for the rest of your life, not have children, and if I did have children, this is into my late 20s, this is what my goal was. If I did have children, it would either be her children that weren't mine, because I knew that I could love children that weren't mine as if they were my own. That's something I've known about myself for a long, long time. And, or adopt, because I never wanted to have biological children. And I think a part of what I've been going through recently is getting to the root of why. And it's kind of coming out in my poetry. I started this poem, and it's going to be a long poem. I don't know if it's going to continue for the rest of the year and just be one poem, but I'm doing it in pieces. And if you want to read it, it's on either my Steam It or my Scent blog. Both, you can get to both by you can type in Google Acoustic Stevo Scent, that's C-E-N-T, or Acoustic Stevo Steam It, and you'll find a post of mine and just follow the rabbit hole, and you will find what I've been doing. And I'm really kind of proud of it. And I'll get to that in a moment, this catch up. I'm proud of it for a number of reasons. I'm proud of it because, well, first off, because I'm doing it. Like, for me, I've had a problem with accomplishing or even setting goals in my lifetime. Like, I've always been hesitant to set goals because I'm the type of person that will start something and not finish it. I'll commit to something that I then, when the crap hits the fan, I decide I don't want to do it, and so I just don't, right? For instance, I've started novels. I've gotten, I have novels on computers sitting that I just have the computers with the hard drives, and they don't even work anymore. The only reason why I have the computers is because on that hard drive is part of a novel that I started that I want to be able to access at some point. And the same goes with screenplays. I have a screenplay on a computer I can't access. And I have things that I've done that I've started in a major way and never completed that I can't even access anymore, that I've lost, that are completely inaccessible to. And maybe these novels on these hard drives might be that, and I might just need to buck it up and accept it, because on one of them it's the power unit went out, and it's such an old computer I don't think I can replace the power unit and reboot it and get it to work again. So that's one of the things I'm dealing with, because I have a novel that I started that I'm about 30 pages into, but as I write more and more, I'm starting to realize that 30 pages is nothing. Back when I was writing the novel in my early 20s, 30 pages was a lot. I was like, oh wow, I've written 30 pages. But now I realize that 30 pages is nothing. Not only that, I would probably reread that novel that I started and be like, ugh, this is gross. Realize that I'd have to heavily edit it, and I'm not even so sure I want to write that story anymore. Or if I do write that story, I'm not so sure I want to start it from any of that old stuff that I wrote. So I might just toss my computer. I might just say, this thing sat around for long enough, because I know my wife and me, we really need to do some spring cleaning, and I know she constantly brings up the fact that I have these computers just sitting around doing nothing. One of them, I've been able to get it to boot up and go, so I might just get everything off of it, upload everything I want to keep to my Google Drive, because I do think Google's going to be around for a while. That's the one good thing about Google, is they're probably going to be around for a while, and they got free space that I can use for archiving my stuff that I'm fairly certain won't get deleted. And I could get rid of that computer, maybe I'll just also get some kind of hard drive that I can attach to computers in the future, when I actually have money to get computers in the future. And just be done with it, do some real cleaning. Like, I have a lot of handwritten stuff that is just sitting out in my garage, and I'm going to have to get rid of it. And what it means is that I'm probably going to have to scan it, make it digital, or just toss it. Just go, hey, this poetry's not good. Do I really want to keep it? Some of it I might just keep for nostalgia's sake. Or, maybe one day I will be a poet that people will be like, wow, this guy is a poet. And they'll want to see my old stuff, even though I think it's trash. Who knows? So I don't know if I really want to get rid of that stuff in that way, where I just throw it in the garbage. But I'm very tempted just to throw it in the garbage. Because if I don't, it means that I got to spend all this time scanning it, which I might do. Yeah, I might just do that, because that's probably what I should do. So that's probably what I should do, and I probably will do. But yeah, so I haven't started on that yet, but that's going to be a project that I'm going to be doing real soon, because I want to do it before it gets way too hot, and way too hot isn't coming here in Ohio. I know that. It's like going on mid-May, and way too hot starts about mid-May. So I'm taking a vacation, a mini vacation this weekend with my wife and my kids. We're going to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. It sits along, one of the Great Lakes, and it's really kind of a cool place. And my family and I went there last couple years a few times, and I enjoy it a lot, and so do they. So Mother's Day weekend, it's my wife's thing, It's her Mother's Day thing that we're doing, and I'm glad we're doing that. But when we get back, I need to kind of buck it up a little bit and pull myself out of a funk, because other than writing my poetry and going to martial arts on Fridays and going to work, I've mainly been coming home and sitting on my couch and watching PG shows, because that's all I can watch, because my son is 10. And I'm just kind of over that. I'm kind of over it. I don't mind doing it because it allows, the television can be good and it can be bad, right? And I like watching shows because I really don't have a lot of time once I get home with my kids anyways. And I'm tired because my work day is like consistently a 10 to 12 hour day. So I'm kind of, and I got to make my own dinner for the most part because I'm a vegetarian, and I don't want to lay that at the feet of my wife, to have to deal with my diet on top of the kids and her. So, and she's nice. Every once in a while she'll have something made for me when I get home, and I love that. But I'm not going to put it at her feet. So, an hour or so is taken up by me cooking and eating. So I kind of do that. When I get home, I cook and eat and sit and watch TV, something PG with my kids. And it's kind of been nice in a way because it's kind of a newer thing. Before that, I'd been coming home and not even caring what's on TV for the most part, sitting with my phone doing social media stuff, trying to get my whole thing going. But that's not working, because all that does is it makes my family feel like I'm disconnected. Because rightfully so. And I've been doing it for a reason, because I'm trying to connect to people and get something going outside of being a truck driver, so that eventually I'm not a truck driver anymore. And that's a long-term goal that isn't going to happen overnight. And if I push at it with the limited amount of time that I do have, I'm going to have to sacrifice, maybe even if it's just a perception thing with my family, but I don't even know if I'm willing to sacrifice that, because I don't want my son to perceive that I'm more engaged with other people than I am with him. So it's meant that I've kind of put my phone down, and I haven't even, I don't even, I love some things that are going on YouTube, like rant jams, Monday nights at 7. But I haven't even really been on rant jams recently, and that might continue. And it's not because I don't want to engage with people there, because I love them to death. I love rant jams to death. But I'm just kind of taking a step back from YouTube in general, and social media in general. Really all I'm doing on social media is posting my poetry every day. And I kind of like it that way. I kind of like it that way, because that's my main thing anyways when it comes down to it, at least for this year, is writing my poetry. And I'm putting so much of myself into my poetry and my goal, my Poetry 365, that I don't really have a lot more to give beyond that, besides to my family and to myself, to recuperate and not just be this guy that's overexerting himself. Because you see, there's a danger. If I overexert myself, I could get sick, and I've been acting kind of like that's not the case here for the last few years. I would work 10, 12 hour days, and then on top of that, I would do all these projects, like whether it be music or writing or research or whatever. Something that puts me into the world that's not just the world right in front of me, the people, the interaction. You know, because even if I do come home and watch TV with my son, I'm not watching it because I particularly want to watch whatever it is that I put on, something PG that I could care less about. It's the fact that I'm spending time with my son. We get to laugh at the jokes together. You know, we get to talk about whatever things come up on the episode. I get to pause it from time to time and ask him about whatever questions I've got about what he's been going through during his day. I get to talk to my wife, the same thing, because she's sitting there right next to us. My teenage son's usually in his room, but he gets grounded from time to time and loses his privileges, and that puts him directly out with us watching these PG shows. So my whole family's together, spending time together, watching TV. And that's like the thing that people used to do. Like when TV was first invented, that was like a big family thing, you know. The dad would come home and everybody'd sit around and watch some of the shows on TV. They were all family friendly for the most part back then. Now I gotta really hunt. Like I'm telling you, sometimes it's hard to find content I can actually watch with my 10-year-old son. And not only that, even some of the PG stuff is debatable, whether or not it should be being watched with him. So, yeah. Just being a dad, you know, gearing up for things, getting through financial problems that come up, going to martial arts once a week. I really would love to exercise, but it's not happening. I haven't gotten myself into a routine for that yet, but that is on the agenda. Maybe that will be my 365 for next year, like some kind of, even if it's not a 365 thing, maybe I'll rename it and it will be like a few times a week challenge or something. Or maybe I'll get it started before next year, somehow incorporate it into my life. But I need more physical activity. I have some ideas for how I could do that. I've experimented around with some of them, and so, you know, I might start doing them. I know that one, for instance, could just be as simple as bringing my dogs to the dog park with my son. I know that he would love to do that. I'm very tempted to go out and buy a bike for myself, even though I don't have the money for it, because both my sons have bikes, and I know they would love to ride bikes with me. It's as simple as that. So I don't know how I'm going to get a bike, but I might start looking for a bike. Maybe I'll spend some of my cryptocurrency and get myself a bike. I don't know. Find something cheap on Facebook Marketplace and just be done with it. You know, even if it's like a BMX. I kind of want a mountain bike though, because I'm kind of a little too big for a BMX. But yeah, maybe some cheap mountain bike, $50, somebody's done with. Or look into garage sales. Who knows what I'll find? But I really, it's kind of on my heart to get a bike. Not really for any reason other than I know that I could easily talk my kids into going on bike rides with me. And I can't really ride my teenager's bike because I'm too heavy. I'm like over 200 pounds. And I think it could hold me. Actually, I know it can. But I know if I ride it, both him and my wife will probably get upset with me. Really, that's what it comes down to. They'll probably tell me I'm too big for it, even though I don't think. Really, I think like it's spec'd out that it can handle my weight. But, you know, there's some things that you just don't fight about, and you find a different solution for, and that's one of them. So I'm probably going to get a bike, and if I don't, I need to figure something out, because I need some exercise. So that's something I've been working on, thinking about. Haven't really been working on, to be honest. I haven't really been, something I've been thinking about, something I need to do. And, I'm going to go ahead and do that at some point and get that going. But some of the other things I've been thinking about are what I want to do with this channel. Like, I don't even know, really. I guess when people started talking about niches and your channels, like when I started this channel, all I really wanted to do was put, like, music on it. Like, that's what I thought I wanted to do, and I did that for a couple of years, like, and I hardly put any music on it at all at the beginning. It was when I was driving around in my truck, I had my guitar with me, and it was before I got sick, and I put some songs on, and then after I got back out in my truck, I drove for a long time without even doing music. I didn't bring my guitar out with me. And then I started bringing my guitar out, started doing music on my channel again. And then I realized I didn't want to just do music, I wanted to talk. Like, I had things to say, like, and so that's what I've been doing. I've been doing whatever comes to mind. That's really the best way to put it. Whatever comes to mind, I've been fearlessly and relentlessly putting it on the internet for a few years now. You know, there's lags from time to time, but sometimes I get in the groove and I just start putting things up. And, you know, the live streaming's been kind of cool, even though I haven't really been able to do it. I've been having to find times to do it and multitask it because I just don't have time, really, or energy to live stream because I'm so exhausted with everything else I'm doing. But, yeah, I've been thinking about what I want to do with this channel, and I've come up with a solution, so to speak, which is just not to do much at all. Like, to maybe be done with YouTube for a while. And that to be okay, you know? I mean, I can keep the channel, just leave it alone. Because I feel at this point, like, I've said a lot. I think most of what I have to say, I've already said, like, in a video. Like, I really don't think there's a lot more for me to say. So, at this point, I might just use it as little get on, get off, like this, you know, an update on me. I might put some of my poetry on it. I was doing that at the poetry challenge, and I might, when I have time, see, that's the main thing, I haven't even had time to put my poetry on it. When I have time, I might catch up to where I'm at. I think maybe after the Acoustic Stevo series, I'll do, because I'm doing a poem called The Teo of Acoustic Stevo. And a Teo is kind of like a philosophy, a way of life. It comes from, like, Eastern religions, really, the Tao, and it's just kind of how you might go about life, and it's been done in many ways by many people, and this is just my way of doing it through a poem. And I don't know how long it's gonna go. I've had the idea of doing it for a while, and I did a thing where I was doing like sonnets for an entire month, even a little more than an entire month, the month of March. And while I was doing the sonnets, I realized I wanted to write this Teo of Acoustic Stevo. And I realized that it was a huge project, and I wasn't even sure I was going to do it during Poetry 365. I thought maybe it was just going to be something I would do eventually. But I thought, you know what? I think that I have enough time to do it, and if it takes the rest of this challenge to do it, I'm fine with that. So I kind of was so tired after the sonnet thing, and I was going through a lot in my personal life, mostly because the sonnet thing was interfering with my family time. And because sonnets take a lot longer for me to do than some of my other poetry. And I've been writing my poetry mostly on breaks during my work day, like I'm required to take a half-hour break. So during those half-hour breaks and during my fuel stops, I've been writing my daily poetry and trying to get it done before I even get home. So that way it's not taking away from my kids or my wife's time with me. And that's been a challenge for me because I'm kind of like a person that's like, back the F off. If I have a poem to write, deal with it. That's your problem, that you have a problem to begin with. And I've said as much to people, and that's, that only goes so far before you start to realize that those people that you're saying this stuff to, they may not deserve what you're saying to them because they're geared more towards something else, and maybe it's not all about you. And that's hard for me to come to that conclusion because I am a person that wants to do a lot for a lot of people, but I can't do a lot for a lot of people in my head. I got to do it in the actual real world, and it means a lot to these people for me to put my device down and not to engage with it. When I say these people, I'm talking about my wife and my kids. It's so funny calling them these people. It means a lot to them. So why not, Why not? If I know I can do my poetry on my breaks, and it's been a lot better since I started doing that. So I finally got myself like back to a place where I felt like I was ready to do another big project again after the sonnet thing. And I also realized that if I do it in little small pieces, I could still do it in a way where I could get it done on my breaks, and it won't be a problem all year long. And not only that, it's kind of something that I look forward to every day, because when I wake up, I'm like, what am I going to write in the tale of Acoustic Stevo? And sometimes I have ideas, that come about, and then when I get down to write it, I write something totally different, but those ideas are still there, and they may manifest and come out on a different day, and that's also a fun experience. And most of it's, my idea for it was that I was going to explore my life. Like my son asked me one time, he said, why don't you write an autobiography? Right? And you know what? I kind of, ever since I was young, I kind of have been thinking, like, one day I might do that. One day I might. But I haven't, I gave him an answer that I think is a good answer for what he asked me. I said, you know what? I haven't really done anything yet in this life that merits an autobiography. I have a lot to write about. And I don't know if I ever will do anything that merits an autobiography. Maybe at one point I'll write one whether or not my life merits an autobiography. Just to do it. Just for the hell of it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I thought, you know what? I can write something else that's like that. And that's kind of what my tale of Acoustic Stevo has been. It's my spin on it, right? And a tale, for the most part, isn't what I'm doing. Like, I'm doing it my own way. And my own way is kind of what this is, catching up, right? I'm reflecting on my life and using my life experience and moments in my life to bring out what I had learned about life in all those moments. And some of them are painful moments. Some of them are like the one I wrote today is pretty dark. Like the darkest so far, really. Some of them are celebratory. A lot of them are, especially from my childhood, because I was surrounded by beauty. So I've been kind of using that beauty as a springboard for my poetry. And for this project, for the Tale of Acoustic Stevo, to kind of relive everything. And there's some things I'm not so sure I'm going to write about, but I might. I'm getting up the courage to it, and I might. Mainly because they don't cast myself or other people in a good light. Like the one today, I mean, it's not that flattering for my parents, my birth parents. because it's about divorce, right? And it's a big part of why I haven't written a lot about my life is because I don't want to cast people in a negative light, that, you know, expose them to the criticisms of the world. Not that anybody would ever read my stuff and that would be a problem, but you never know. You know what I mean? You never know. And if all of a sudden, for some strange reason, what I'm doing got some eyes on it, that might be a problem if I'm talking about things and people in my life and circumstances and stuff that are dark, that are not socially acceptable on anyone's radar, right? You know, the last thing I would want would be for my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, my sisters, my brothers, my lovers, my family members, everyone, my wife, my kids, to have to experience dickheads on social media coming after them and making them feel lesser than because of something that I brought to light. And that's hard, because part of being me is being okay with everything. And I know other people can't do that. Other people can't be okay with everything, and they never will be. And their method of coping is denial and stuffing it into the recesses of the past and not talking about it and not delivering themselves from the turmoil, and to just live that way. And I don't want to take that from them. Not because I don't want to force them to have to do it. Eventually, they'll probably have to do it. Or maybe they have, and I don't know, because I'm too afraid to talk to them about it. And one of my poems was about something like that today. And it comes to me, and I'm a little bit sketched out about it, because I'm like not sure if people in my family are reading my poetry. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I think my wife might read my poetry every once in a while. And that kind of sketches me out, because every once in a while I will write something that will be about our relationship, my wife and I's relationship. And I don't do it because I think I'm right and she's wrong. Like a lot of poetry that's amateur in my estimation is written from a selfish motivation, a way to justify yourself over someone else who did, a victim mentality. And when I write about the things that happen to me and that I do and that other people do to me, it's not about that. It's not about being a victim to something, because I'm not a victim to anything. That's the last thing I would ever want to be. It's more about exploring the fact that these things happen, that these things are a part of life, that they should be talked about. And if they're not, that's a problem. This is my opinion. This is my, this is what I have to offer the world, really. The ability to talk about dark things, right? And not in a way that's like, let's dwell on it, but in a way of that's like, hey, maybe we should talk about some of this stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem for a long time in humanity as a whole. Like, how are we going to deal with our BS if we never talk about it, right? So that's the reason why I do these things. And I'm getting, in my poem today, it had one last line, and it was, I'm ready. And that's where I'm at. That's why I'm writing the Tay of Acoustic Steve-O, because I'm ready. There's still probably going to be some things that I won't write about. Mostly because I don't think I have the right to expose people for certain things. But who knows, I might. Because at the same time, those things happen. It's been a long time. It's a long time removed. And part of writing this is it's like therapy to me, because I'm going back and I'm discovering all the things that I've been doing to myself because of what happened to me, all the traumas that I went through when I was really, really young. And this is something I did to myself, by the way, not something other people did to me. And my way of dealing with those traumas was very unhealthy. And I'm 40 years old and I'm finally realizing it because I'm writing about these things, little by little. And I'm realizing how they're affecting my relationships to my wife and my kids and everything. And part of, like, discovering stuff like that is that at some point you can't go back. You can't stop it from coming out of the bottle. The genie is out. The bottle's been uncorked. And that's kind of what I'm going through and kind of what's happening. Is that I'm holding myself back from becoming who I am to its fullest extent. And I've done that to myself because of fear. Fear of what could happen if I do let myself be myself entirely. Fear of who I might hurt. Fear of... That's the biggest one for me, who I might hurt. Because I love these people very much that I'm writing about. People that have caused me trauma. Because of traumatic things. Like, when you experience divorce as young as I did, I didn't even realize what it did to me until I was an adult, and probably in my 30s. Like, I didn't realize what it did to me, and I didn't realize to the extent of what it did to me until now. And I'm still, that's what I'm exploring right now. I'm exploring, like, what happened to me. Because I have very vivid memories of when I was very young, and this happened to me when I was very young. And maybe the reason why my memories are so vivid is because I went through such an extreme trauma over my parents' divorce and the everything that happened after it, that it opened me up in a way. It opened me up to a lot of things. Like, it broadened my perception of everything, because the trauma sent me into a different way of being. Like, and that the poem I wrote today is that trauma. It's that initial trauma. The first trauma. The first one I remember, at least. And that's part of what I'm doing right now. I'm finding my traumas and I'm dealing with them. I guess that's kind of a normal thing for people my age. I didn't even know that until I started, like, tiptoeing around things, and then now I'm, like, ankle deep into the lake before me, and I'm walking slowly into it, trying to adjust to the cold temperature, while my nipples are getting hard from how cold it is, and not wanting to really go any further in. But I know that as soon as I go in and get under the water and out into the water, I'll adjust and I'll be fine. That's kind of where I'm at right now with this whole thing. And that was an intention. When I started writing the Tale of Acoustic Stevo, it wasn't about me imparting wisdom. I have a lot of wisdom to impart, and that is a part of what I'm doing with it. But the other part is an exploration of everything, good, bad, and ugly, and finding a way to talk about it all, to get myself caught up to being 40, and then I can move on. I want to move on after I'm done with this poem. I want to be done with a lot of things, at least done with the repression, done with the hiding, done with all that. So, if you want to read something interesting, I would say, not to toot my own horn, but it's probably going to be that, alright? It's probably going to hold a lot in it, because I'm willing to do it, and I'm going to do it, and I have to do it. So, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with me lately, like recently. I just started this Tale of Acoustic Stevo, I think early May, so it hasn't been going on for that long. Or maybe it was the very end of April. But that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a break every once in a while just to write a poem. So I'm writing Ateo of Acoustic Stevo on all my posts, and the day that I'm on in my challenge, continued, whenever it's part of that. And at the end of it, it's going to be a full piece of work that I'm going to take and figure out a way to delineate it so it's one piece of work. And I've been thinking about that. I think I'm going to use asterisks, left justified asterisks along the side, and just put them in for the days, and that's it. And I think I might delineate it starting with 3 asterisks for the part where I'm finding all these things, right? And I'm talking about all these things. And then the second part is probably going to be more like insights, philosophies, things like that, and that will probably have 2 asterisks. And then the last part, I'm going to get as Tao as I can possibly get. I'll just put it that way. So it's going to be a fullness, You have to start at the root, which is all the shit, before you can start, at the end, the 1 asterisk, which is the wisdom, the imparting of the truth. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. And so it's not your typical Teo, which is usually just the wisdom. It's all this other shit too, because the wisdom's not going to be able to be understood unless all the other shit comes first. So that's what I'm doing right now. So YouTube's kind of on the back burner. Music is on the back burner, believe it or not. I don't have time for music right now. Every once in a while I'll pick my guitar up and run through my set, and I may, when I do that, just broadcast it so that I do keep some music stuff going. But, and I do have music is on my heart all the time. I just don't have time for it with this project, and that's part of what I've been doing over the years, is that I have so many passions and so many things that it's all up in my head, and then it never becomes anything because I don't actually see it through. So I'm doing things little by little, and that's the best way. I've found that out by doing this Poetry 365. It started last year where I did 100 days of poetry with somebody else's challenge, and I just kind of went along for the ride along with a number of other people. It was really a great experience. We built up a community around it, and people have kind of went their own ways since then, but I still keep in contact with a few of the people in that challenge, and let me tell you, I will for the rest of my life. They're going to be harassed by me. They can't escape me. I will find them. If I don't hear from them for years, that's fine, but they're always on my radar. There are a number of people that are always going to be on my radar my entire life, and they'll just be like, what is this guy doing? Why is he keep, where does he keep, how does he keep, yes. I'm sorry, but once you're on my radar, you're on my radar. You'll have to explicitly tell me that you don't want anything to do with me for me to leave you alone. And there will be long periods of time where you may not hear from me, but man, I love you guys, let me tell you. I really do. Anyone that I interact with online, I love you guys. I've gotten to know you enough that you're not just some person out there. I know enough about you to know that I love you. And that's really what it comes down to. And once you love somebody, what do you want to do but show them that you love them? And that's what I want to do. I want to show people that I actually really do love them. And my way of doing that is letting them know that I see them for who they are, and I appreciate them for who they are. And if they ever need somebody, I'm right here. If they ever need somebody for their darkest things, There's a reason why I'm talking about my darkest things. There's a reason why I'm a poet. I'm here, you know? I'm here. I want to show. There's a thing called show, not tell. I'm working on the showing part right now. I'm working on the show who I am, and they feel comfortable enough to come to me if they need me, and I'll be here. That's what I want. That's what my mom taught me that. That's one of the gifts that my mom gave me. And I might as well tell this story because I took a break from my Teo yesterday because it was my mom's birthday, and I wrote her a poem. And it was called Mom. And I went, last time a good group of people from my family were together, everybody was talking about the people that I've written poems for, right? And they're like, where's my poem? And my mom said, where's my poem, right? And I told them all, I said, will all get a poem. All of you will get a poem called Your Name. Because I wrote a poem in my first book of poetry for my cousin Buckeye. And it's called Buckeye. And my aunt really loved it. And my cousin Buckeye really loved it. My aunt, I guess maybe she framed it or something. She said something about it. My aunt, man, I love her to death. She has been my number one supporter in my creativity. My number two being my stepmom, Nancy. She bought my book of poetry. She bought my album. They're available. My book of poetry is called Poems for Sale. It's on Amazon. Just type in Stephen Martin, Stephen with a PH, last name Martin, Poems for Sale, and you'll find it on Amazon. It's only $1, and it's got my first book of poetry. And it's flawed. It was when I was a young poet. In my early 30s, I think I published it. And I self-published it. Like, there's actual physical copies of it that I don't have very many of anymore, but I think I might still have a few that I distributed to my friends and family, those who actually I thought would actually want it, or actually I offered it to them and I could tell they wanted it. I didn't just give it to anyone. And I didn't make that many. I think I only made like 30. And I might republish it sometime and make a few tweaks on it. Like, I started re-editing the poems like with actual people that were helping me on this Discord channel for people that want help with their writing and stuff. And so I have two versions of, like, I think the first 5 or 6 poems maybe in my collection. But I don't know. I'm so in love with the original versions that I may just not do that. I may leave these 5 or 6 alone as an alternate version, and just go back to the original and take out. There's only a few places that really bother me, and I may just re-edit that, re-upload a digital copy to my Amazon, and leave it alone and be done with it. And my new versions, they'll just exist on my crypto, because I published whenever I got done with the poem. Because I was going to just redo every single poem, and because there have been poets that have revisited their poetry and edited it and stuff years later and stuff, and I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And so I got involved with some people, and I found some weaknesses in my poetry, and I thought, why not go back to it and make it better, right? But then in doing that, I found out that maybe I wasn't making it better. Not only because a lot of the edits that I did make on these 5 or 6 poems were from observations from other people, but they caused me to put stuff in or take stuff out. And there was a reason why I had that stuff the way I did, because even though I was a young poet and very particular, and making mistakes, even grammatically, with my poetry, and like, there's a couple places in there that have to be fixed. I I said exactly what I wanted to say, the way I wanted to say it, and I understand it perfectly to this day, the way the original is. So maybe I should just leave it alone. So I've decided that I'm gonna do that instead of following through on this project, because I was gonna little by come out with another version of it, a revisited version of it, you know, like almost 10 years later. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna leave it alone, and I'm gonna fix the little small things that bug me, you know. Cool. I already told you about my cousin Buckeye, but I also wrote one called Sylvia. And it was for my little niece, the very first little child of my siblings and my cousin's generation to be born into our family. And at least my mother's side of the family. And so I wrote her a little poem, and it's in the collection. But I also have written my wife's poem. It's called Bonita. And it's published on Steam It and sent, maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it's called Bonita. And I was talking to them, and I'm like, most of you are going to get a poem with your name, your first name. And that's going to be the title of the poem, right? And I told my mom, yours isn't going to be your name. I'm sorry. My wife's isn't her name. It's a pet name. It's Bonita. It's not Bonnie. And yours isn't going to be your name. It's going to be Mom. Mom. That's what I've called. I don't think I ever called my mom Mommy. Maybe I did when I was real little, but I don't remember ever calling her Mommy. I've always just called her Mom. And I've always called my grandma Grandma. And I always called my grandpa Grandpa. I didn't have all these. I guess I called my grandma Nana when I was really little. But, you know, I never really got these pet names for your parents or your grandparents type thing. I just call them Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad, and that's what I call them, right? So that's what my mom, her poem was written yesterday for her birthday, and I sent it to her. Sent it to her just in an email. I didn't send her a link to it online or nothing, but it's published online. So if you want to read it, that's what is on the screen that you can see. So go ahead and check it out. I didn't put a link or anything in the description, but if you really want to find it, you can find it. All you have to do is find my Steam It or Sent blog, and it will be my most recent post. So if you really are interested in my poetry, you can do the work to find that. I'm not going to do it for you. But that's my yesterday's poem. And I started back up today, and it kind of fell, that poem just kind of like synchronistically, like serendipitously fell between in a spot where in my big poem, Teo of Kusikstivo, where my mother and my father happened to be a big part of what I'm writing about right now, my early childhood. So that's kind of cool, but in a way it fell in a hard spot, right? Because I'm writing about hard things, but it's kind of good though, because people can see how much I value my mom and that I'm not playing the victim in what I'm doing. That I'm, it should speak for itself. I'll put it that way. So I'm kind of glad that her birthday just kind of lined up perfectly for the timing of when I wrote that poem and where it actually fell in the grand scheme of this bigger poem that I'm writing. It's kind of cool. But today's poem was kind of hard to write because it was about my first trauma. And I'll just tell you what it was, you know. I was 4 years old, and what I remember about that day was that my mom was doing the dishes, and my dad was gone, and he'd been gone for a little while, to the point where, like, I didn't know where he was, and my sister didn't know where he was, and I wasn't even sure my mom knew where he was, And then all of a sudden there was this phone call, and she was doing the dishes, and I remember her answering the phone and yelling and screaming and crying. And my sister and I were crying too, but she wasn't really trying to soothe us or nothing. She was going through this telephone conversation with my dad, and I knew it was my dad, and all I wanted to do was talk to my dad because I hadn't seen him, and I was so excited that he called, and it was this bad thing instead. It was like this horrible thing, and it ended up with I don't remember if my mom told us that my dad and her were over, but I understood it, and I don't know why, and I can't remember why, and I have never talked to my mom about this, and that's a part of the poem that I wrote today. And I knew that it was happening, and the worst part was that I knew not to talk to her about it, nor do I think I really had the words to, because I was 4, although I may have, because I was very, I don't know, I knew how to read by then, I'll put it that way, like, so, I remember this. I remember my sister and I crying, and it's just this really vivid memory of, like, especially my mom doing the dishes part, and the phone and everything. And so I wrote a poem about it today, and I discovered while writing the poem that a big part of the trauma was that I didn't know where my dad was, and I didn't know if I was ever going to see him again. And that was ongoing trauma. Like, I did not see my dad again till I was about 6 years old. Actually, I'm gonna have to go through this and figure this out. Like, that's gonna be a part of the tale of Steve-O. I've suppressed a lot of this so far that I don't even remember exactly when they line up to different things, but I know I have the ability to figure it out because of other things that I do remember. It's like I'm constructing a timeline in a way. So right now, I found out that I didn't know where my dad was or if I was ever going to see him again, and that really messed with me. Like, I didn't really know how much that messed with me, because later in my life, when I realized what divorce was, which wasn't a whole lot later, I started to figure it out, because I started to see that it wasn't only me, like, it was happening around me, with other kids that I was close to in my family, and my aunts, and things like that. So, like, I started to understand what divorce was, and after I understood what it was, I kind of put it in a box as, like, this is something that happens to me. Like, it's not a big deal. I can put it in this box, and then I can just make it not a big deal, and then I can move on, right? But I didn't really understand what I was doing, and it really kind of messed me up in a way. Long term. Like, it's a lot of the reason why I think I got a vasectomy. It's a big part of it. Because now, as a man with a vasectomy that knows he's capable of being a strong man that can have a family and face the fears of all the unknown what ifs of if that family doesn't work out, that maybe I sold myself a little short. Like, maybe everything I told to justify my reasons for getting a vasectomy were constructs. And I believe that to be so. And it all comes back to early trauma. And that's weird for me to deal with. Like, and to acknowledge and to come to terms with and to realize, like, it's very strange. Like, I never would have thought that would have been the reason. But as I go through my timeline and I do this poem, I'm finding things out about myself. Like, I did this a lot to myself with all sorts of things. This is just the first time that I did it. That I remember. Like, there might be some things that I don't remember that were trauma. And I'm coming to terms with that too, and I may never remember them. I wrote one poem early in it that was alluded to that, like a possible traumatic thing that I don't remember a lot of, and I have another one I'm going to write here soon of a possible traumatic thing that I don't remember a lot of. And I've been given stories because at some point I've asked my mom about these things. Like, I've never talked to my mom about what I talked in the poem about. I have, though, somewhat talked to my dad about it, believe it or not. And that's even alluded to in the poem. It's actually not even alluded to. It's specifically stated that I have, in fact, talked to my dad about it, and that I haven't talked to my mom about it, and that I'm ready. Like, whenever that conversation comes, I'm ready to have it at this point. Like, I think maybe the next time I see my mom, I might need to talk to her about it, regardless of the reasons why I haven't, because that's a big part of what I've been doing, like, is not talking about things with the people that I need to talk to them about, because I don't want to stir things up. I don't want to, like, and I know I'm going to when I do. So, or at least I have this fear, like it's a potential timeline that it will cause all sorts of ripple effects that I don't want to manifest. So therefore I just leave it alone, right? And maybe I'll continue to do that. I don't know. But if I find out in this process that a part of doing all this is that I can't leave it alone, then that's where I'm going to go with it. I don't know yet. I don't know. But it's interesting, let me tell you, it's interesting. I'm finding some things out about myself. It's crazy. But yeah, I talked to my dad about it years later, and he told me that, well, he told me that he wanted to come back. That my mom told him, no, don't come back, because he got arrested and thrown in jail when he was out looking for work, because there was no work where we were living out in the middle of nowhere in Montana. So he had to go to Idaho looking for work so he could send it back, the money back to the household. And that's what he was out doing. And I knew none of this until I was an adult, and I went back in my 30s and had a conversation with my dad, a real conversation. And I found out that he wanted to come back, like, and she told him no, like, because he got arrested. He was in a bar, he was drinking with some people, and he was with some loggers, and he was working, and he told me he should have never went out with these guys, but it was kind of a thing, like, part of it, you know, was that they kind of expected you to go out with them. So he got himself in this position where he was in this bar one night. One of the guys he was with was an asshole, and started being an asshole, and the cops came in and they weren't having it, and they just hauled off the whole bunch of them, and he got lumped in with other people when he wasn't even really doing anything. So he had to call my mom and tell her about this, and I guess that was the final straw for her, that he had got arrested and thrown in jail. I don't know. I guess I have to have a conversation with my mom about it at some point. But for me, you know, I haven't resolved this. Because for me, it would take an awful lot for me to get a divorce. And to, you know, I went through an awful lot with my wife, and she went through an awful lot with me. Credit to both of us. Like, we've put up with an awful lot for each other to make it to where we're at now with one 10-year-old and one 16-year-old. And the 10-year-old was 3 when I met him. I mean, not the 10-year-old, I'm sorry. The 16-year-old was 3 when I met him. And so for me, a big part of why I never wanted to have kids is because I didn't want to want to cause pain to a young person. And I still have a hang up about this. I didn't want to cause trauma to especially my own offspring. So the way I resolved that was to come up with all these constructed reasons as to why maybe I should never have offspring. And I did that. And I did that to myself. And I took it as far as getting a vasectomy. And I'm dealing with this stuff and writing this poetry, so if you're listening to this live stream and you're hearing all this stuff, that's kind of what I am about. I'm not your everyday average YouTuber that is on YouTube to create a YouTube channel and direct traffic to their YouTube channel so they can get AdSense or whatever it's called and grow their subscriber count and all that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm a scientist. I'm experimenting with YouTube. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, I have a hashtag, I hate YouTube. I hate Google. And the reason why, it's not that I hate what they are or what, I think it's actually quite cool that there's a place I can go that doesn't cost me money, that I can be myself on in video and audio, that will archive it, and I don't have to really worry about it disappearing for who I am, because I know I'm not doing anything totally extreme to where I get like banned or something. But at the same time, I'm like a free speech advocate, and they have like deplatformed people, and that's a big part of why I hate Google and why I hate YouTube. And I don't buy the propaganda put out as to why that's okay because they're a company. No, if they were not held, if they were held to the same standard as other people that put out content that have like financial repercussions for the content that they put out, that have editorial privilege so that they can discriminate as to what content will keep them from getting sued, I would feel differently about it. But YouTube has carte blanche, right? So if you have carte blanche to where that's not the case, where you can say, this narrative's okay to leave on our platform, but this one's not, and I'm going to take it off because it's not, that leads to social engineering. And I am not a fan of social engineering. So, therefore I hate YouTube and I hate Google until they stop practicing these things. But the whole thing itself is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I love YouTube on the same coin as I hate them. Otherwise I wouldn't be on it, right? So, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there are a lot of people that feel the way that I do. Maybe not as strongly, but a lot of people that feel like, hey, maybe YouTube should, beyond illegal activity being done on their platform, like child abuse and things of that nature, YouTube should keep a hands-off approach as to what they allow on their platform. Especially if it's just somebody talking and saying things. That's all it is. That's it. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, this, agenda that's being pushed by lots of places wants you to not believe that. They want you to believe that words will hurt you. And that's the reason why we have to monitor and take off words off of being able to be seen by the masses. And that's just not the case. Not only that, that leads to totalitarianism. And I know that for a fact because I'm a very smart person who can look at history. That's really all it takes to see that that's what it is. So, I'm not going to go down and toe the propaganda line that this corporation has carte blanche from being held liable for discriminating against certain people. If you want to editorialize your platform, then you should have the ability to be sued for what's on it. And in that case, I would say, hey, if YouTube could be sued for the stuff they put on their platform, damn, yeah, go ahead and do what you want. You know, take stuff off, put stuff on, practice your right to protect yourself financially. But they don't. They have carte blanche. So anytime they take something off, it's now an editorial thing. So I think it needs to be redefined if they want to continue to practice editorializing speech. You know, because it's up to us to say what we want to see and what we don't want to see. See, that's the thing. They go around and they act like, you know, this person can't be given a voice because, you know, it's dangerous because what their message is could lead to this or that or the other. Well, no. Part of it is that these messages have to be out there so that people can come to terms with the fact that there are people out there that are very sick and twisted, so that we can know just how sick or twisted these people are, so that we can actually maybe help, maybe lend a hand, maybe give them our voice instead of ignoring it. You know, a big part of why I think all these shootings happen is because the neighbors of all the people that do the shooting and the parents and the society that are around these people don't really look at them, don't really see them. And if they did see them, they'd see how sick they are, and they would start to try to figure a way out to help them. And when I say help, I don't mean a lot of things. I don't mean like push some drug on them. I mean like maybe mentor. Maybe when you see a young person that is struggling with their identity in the world and you see it going a bad way, maybe at least try to reach out. And when I say try, I don't mean like attempt once. I mean like this. If it's a hard nut to crack, take the time to crack the damn nut that you see in front of you. That's easier said than done, because a lot of us don't have time to do that and to engage our community. But I would say a big part of it is keeping your eyes open for those opportunities and looking at the young people, whether they come to you through their friends or through your church or through school. If you're a teacher, keep an eye on these kids. Come on, learn a little bit about psychology. If you see that there's a child that is in a bad way, maybe it's not a part of your job to intervene, and maybe you even feel like it threatens your job to intervene at a certain point. But at a certain point, that's the only way we're going to get past these things, is when these people are young and they're developing all these things that are going to lead up to what they do. We can go in and help them. And the reason why I feel so passionately about this is I've done extreme things in my life. I've never had the capacity to want to hurt people, but I've done extreme things to myself. And so I know, I know like that it's redeemable. And I've had to redeem my damn self. I didn't have mentors that came down and helped me. And that's part of why I'm 40 years old where I'm at. I'm not blaming it on anyone, but if I would have had some mentors, I probably wouldn't have done a lot of the things that I've done. But then again, I wouldn't have went through what I've went through to get me to where I am right now, to understand that maybe I need to be a mentor. Maybe I need to reach out to these kids that are struggling, that see the world in a certain deep, dark way that is real and true, and they're being told that it's not, and they're being told that they need to like toe the line of whatever it is that's going on and accept certain philosophies that are untrue. And maybe they need someone like me, and maybe they'll never find me, but maybe they will. That's why I'm on here. That's a big part of why I'm on YouTube, is because I'm hoping that you know, I can keep people from going down the road that I went down, because it's not really needed, and it stunts your growth spiritually, in your life, everything. Like, if I wouldn't have done what I've done to myself, I might have done a lot more than I'm going to be able to do now that I've finally figured it out. And that kind of bugs me, that makes me sad. It makes me not sad for myself, really, but it makes me sad for humanity, because I have an awful lot to give, and I didn't give everything from an age where I could have. I kept myself stunted with all sorts of different methods, and I still have to keep myself from doing that, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But that's a big part of it. That's what we're supposed to do in our society. We're supposed to stunt ourselves and to accept it and to figure out a way to do that to ourselves so that we're acceptable to everyone else. But that's not the answer. That's definitely not the answer. Because the everyone else that's out there, all the narratives that are being pushed that we're supposed to be adopting, and that I see young people adopting all the time without even the wisdom or the experience, it's just an ideology that they've never put into practice. It's not scary to me, but it's sad because I see that they're being programmed. That's all it really is, programming. So I'm attempting to at least do my little part of deprogramming. Not only myself, but everyone else that gets the opportunity to listen to me. And that's not me having a big ego. That's me doing a lot of shadow work, which is required in deprogramming. And knowing that that's a blessing for myself and everyone, and not keeping myself from manifesting that blessing into the world. That's what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I don't really need to justify it. But yet, I've so kept myself from being myself for so long that I do have this nagging need to justify it as like a defense mechanism, which is ridiculous, and I need to just stop doing that. I just need to be myself and let it be. I don't need to put out videos all the time where I'm justifying who I am and what I'm doing. But there's enough of those out there. I need to just move in a different direction. So yeah, I'm kind of excited for the future, for people finding my discovery of who I am, because it's all there, folks. When I say take a deep dive, it's on my channel banner. I really do mean that. If you look at what I've done and what I've put on here, it's something special, folks. It's something unique. Nobody else is doing it. I haven't found anybody else doing it. I found some people that come close or have done it, do what I'm doing in a different way, their journey, and it's been legit and authentic, like to the extreme. But that's very rare, and some of them have disappeared. That is kind of scary to me. One of them that's disappeared. Like, I don't understand why she disappeared, and I'm a little concerned. I'll put it that way. That's really all I need to say about that. I'm going to be coming up on my stop here real soon. I'm getting close to home, which is good. I'm on time to be able to actually... You see, whenever I work on Fridays, it's an extra day or something. I'm working this Friday because I'm going on vacation, so I'm having to take Sunday and Monday off. I'm taking Monday as a vacation day, but at my company, we're given the opportunity, if we don't want to work one of our regular days, we can pick up one of our irregular days to compensate for it. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm working Friday to compensate for my Sunday that I usually work. And whenever I work on Friday, I take the chance that I'm going to miss my martial arts practice, Kung Fu, because it starts at 6 p.m. and sometimes I don't get home in time for that. Or I don't get home in time to make myself something to eat and then go to Kung Fu, which I'm starving by the time I get home because I don't have that much food with me while I'm out driving, usually. So most of what I eat during the day is the meal that I make myself when I get home from work. So I'll find every excuse in the world not to go to Kung School, and if it's that I need to eat, I'll take it. But today it looks like I might be able to get home, make myself something to eat, and go to Kung School. So it's a good day. Good Friday, because I've been worrying about this for a while, because I don't want to miss Kung School. I really don't. It's really important that I don't, actually. very important. And I haven't really put the importance on it as I should have, that I am now. So, yeah. I'm really excited that I found, I'm going to be promoting next month to a blue belt. So it will be my second promotion. I'm a yellow belt right now. My first one was a white belt to a yellow belt, and that took me a while because I was missing classes because when I first started, I was out over the road, and so when I could be home on a Friday, which wasn't guaranteed, I would, but that wasn't happening on the regular. I mean, it was happening maybe 2 times a month, and so it took me a while. And then I came home, and I was still a white belt, and I was home for a little while, and I got promoted to yellow belt, and then I've been a yellow belt for a while because part of promoting is that you have to be there your day of the week, every week. Like, that's part of it. So my attendance has pushed me back. I probably should have promoted last time promotions came around, but my attendance kept me from it. But she told me that I'm going to be promoting this time around. So I'm making attendance a lot more of a priority now that I'm more settled and at home. And it's been a year that I've been at home. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for making sure I get there every week. And I was kind of afraid that I wasn't going to today, and that kind of sucked. Because I've been afraid of that. I've been carrying around that fear for a couple weeks now that I knew that this was the plan of how I was going to make up that day. Because I didn't want to use 2 vacation days. I want to kind of save my vacation days. So, yeah, so today's a good day. It's working out for me. Like, the planets are aligning. And that's the other thing I'll talk about before I get off here as a kind of catch-up, is that I'm planning on keeping this a variety channel, I think, and just not really doing anything more than what I'm doing with it. Not really giving it a plan. And where the things are that I do have planned for YouTube, because I've learned some things about YouTube, like since I started doing this channel, that I think would benefit a new channel. And I've started a couple channels that are off to the side that I don't even know or think I have videos on. And one of them's called 12th House Astrology. I don't think I have any videos on that. But I'm going to not only start an astrology channel, and I might wait till this poetry challenge is done, because it will require better quality videos, and so that might be my project for next year. But then again, I know that I'm going to have to do another writing project next year, so I really don't have the time for it, but it's on my heart, so I'm not really sure when it's going to start, when I'm actually going to do my... it might start during this challenge. What I might do is just take my time and put out a video like maybe once every 3 months and make it a good video, a really good one, like edited. Because I was in film school, so I know how to edit. I just never have time to actually edit and take the time that it would take to make something really good. But I could very easily do that. So I think what I might do is set myself up downstairs. I've been working on getting myself a little music/video editing studio downstairs. And part of this spring cleaning that I talked about earlier with throwing stuff away is completing my actual setup. And once I have it, I don't think I'm going to live stream at all. Or if I do, I don't think I'm going to live stream for my editing situation, because I've tried to live stream and it's just comes out bad quality. And part of 12th House Astrology is that I'm not going to put anything that on it that I don't think is worthy of views. Like I want what I put on it to make me so discouraged and so distraught with failure if when I post a video I'm not able to at least get 100 to 200 views from it. just off the merit of how good it is, understanding the algorithm and posting it correctly, all those things that you have to do. Maybe even a little promotion, like going out to other places and promoting my videos. I'm going to have a plan. So I think in order for me to have a good video and to actually do it the right way, I have to keep it off this Acoustic Stevo channel, because I've already destroyed it for any of that type of thing. And I have to make really good videos. And it's also going to be a business, though, because I'm an astrologer, right? And I think that's part of what I've been discovering about myself, is that I'm really good at it. And I should just start doing it for people, like little by little, you know? Build up a client base of people that can actually pay for astrology. And, you know, and I'm not going to undersell myself on it either. And I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to give a good product. Like, I'm going to take my time, and when I do start my business, I'm going to slot it out where I don't have very many clients at all. And the people that want what I have to offer, they're going to be a certain type of people. And I'm just going to stick to that. If it's not that person, then I'm not going to take that person as a client. That's just the way I'm going to go about it. So that's going to be it's going to be a business. It's just going to be kind of like a side project business. It's not something that I want to actually do as a career, so to speak. It's just going to be more like, unless it took off. Like if it took off and there was no denying it, then I would have to do that. But that lends its own things, because that would mean I'd have to worry about healthcare again, because I would have to, you know, do that and not I'd have to find a different way to get healthcare, and I have a pre-existing condition that's kind of hard to get healthcare with, especially if I'm not lumped in with a corporate job and all the people that are working at that corporate job. And I know it's important to my wife, so it would take some hard. I might just come out of the truck and take a corporate job full time and work a normal 40-hour work week, which would, because right now I'm working like a 60-hour work week, right? Quite consistently, or more sometimes. And so that would give me an extra 20 hours a week to work and do it towards a business, you know? 20 hours, that's a part-time job right there. I mean, so I'd have a full-time job and a part-time job and still have healthcare. You see, that's a part of life. You got to find workarounds to actually accomplish your goals and your dreams, because it's not just going to work out for you. And if you really want something, you got to make it happen. You can't. That's the only way to manifest. You can't just like cast a spell and everything is going to be great. No, you have to be your spell. You have to enact your spell. Yeah, cast your spell, which is just envisioning your manifestation, really, and then just live it. Live your manifestation. So that's what I'm doing. So 12th house astrology is going to be very particular. It's going to be a professional channel. My astrology videos and my live streams are going to be a professional, well thought out stuff. I'm going to have scripts. It's going to be well edited. I already know what I want to talk about. I already know what I want to tell people about. I already know a bunch of different series I want to do. So it's going to be really cool, and I'm excited about it, but it's just getting started the right way and having all the right things in place. Having the time and not kidding myself, because I have that problem where I'll overextend myself and it becomes a problem. And I got to make sure I don't do that. So I'm still trying to find out if I can do that with my circumstance that I'm in. Very reluctant. I'll put it this way. I the way that I will know that I can do it is that I will have my suite set up, that I will give myself 3 months to do a video. I will do it in 3 months. I will have it perfect before I post it with well-researched keywords, everything. Be ready to, I'll have a advertisement campaign, everything ready, like a plan, a way to go, like a procedure, and it will all fall into place in a 3-month period. If I don't have time for it during that 3 months and it doesn't fall into place, then I'll know that I can't do it, and I'll wait for a different time when I can, or I'll do it in a. Now I think that's too unreasonable. I think 3 months is even stretching it. Like, who's gonna want to come back and look at your video, a new video every 3 months? So even I might even not do it like that. I might even do it every month, and that's, I know, going to be tough, and I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't know if I have the time to do that at all. It would take a lot for me to do that. So I might, in the 3-month time, see how hard it was to do it, and I might not even publish it. I might make my 3-month video and then go, no, that was too much to get to where I'm at. If I can't streamline this and get it down to 1 month, I'm just not going to be able to do it. And I think what I would do is I would have to be able to set up a live stream time as well for astrology every, say, week to keep people engaged. And that would be tough to do for me, because I would have to have a way to do it. And I'd have to have the tools to do it. It'd have to look like a professional live stream. It'd have to be visually appealing and not just looks amateurish. All these things, and I'm working on it. I got another camera that I haven't used yet. My son's Moto. Not Moto. My son's what are those things? There's a certain GoPro camera. He wants to sell it to me on the cheap, so I'm probably gonna buy it from him. And I'm gonna test around with it to see how professional I can get my stuff to look with it. The phone I got now is pretty good though. The camera on it's pretty good. I think I just would possibly be able to do it with that, but I would have to man, I hate coming up this hill. What I'm getting at is, I'm getting that GoPro. My camera is actually pretty good on my phone, so I might be doing some testing around just to see on this channel how good of a look I can get with videos on this channel, and not just do what I've been doing with my live streams, which is just use some weird app that's free, like that's got snow falling down in the background, like this one. But actually finding something better, using this channel to live stream to get a good look going, and then taking that look and transferring it over when I do the live streams on the other channel. I may be able to accomplish that with the phone I've got, because the camera really is pretty damn decent. So, and the sound's pretty good too. I just need to get the right environment. That's the main thing. I gotta find the right environment and a time to actually consistently do it. And that's the challenge on that. So it might not even be, I might have the technology already at my fingertips. It's just finding a way to make my technology work with what I've got, the time I've got. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I'm going to be starting that channel, maybe, if I can make it work. I'm not going to start it all unless my plan is perfect and gonna be able to execute it perfectly. So I'll keep you guys informed on that, because I do have some subscribers on here that might be interested in astrology videos, and they're going to be good. I have a lot of good information that's not being shared, that could really help people understand some things about astrology and how it can be used in their lives in all sorts of different ways. So I'm excited about doing that. And then you know, that's kind of what it is. That's my next thing, is that channel. And then, you know, I have other ideas for other channels, but I just don't have the time. So I'm going to keep it at that. But then who knows, after if I ever did get out of this truck and have my YouTube going and have my astrology going and have the time I need to really do my creative endeavors. There's a lot, man. Like, there's a lot. I'll tell you that much. There will be no lack of content. So yeah, I'm pulling in now, and I'm gonna get going so I can get home and eat and be on with my day and go to Kuksul. So I hope everyone has a good day, and that was just kind of my little catch-up stream and what's been going on with me. I got a phone now that I can use, so you'll probably see me a little bit more than you have, but I can't guarantee it will be a lot more. It probably won't. Alright, have a good one, everyone.